in the thick of the NBA offseason. There is nothing to talk about, but the 76ers, they have one player left to address before we can call their offseason complete, and it has to do with none other than Quentin Grimes. Both sides have yet to make an agreement on a new contract, and Grimes is still a restricted free agent. So I was scrolling on social media today trying to find anything interesting pertaining to the Sixers, and I found this post by NBA Central where it revealed, a comment by a anonymous executive saying that Quentin Grimes is essentially the same as Gary Trent and they're similar players. This is what he said. Why would you spend $20 million on Quentin Grimes when you can get Gary Trent Jr. for a minimum? And this has been the source of a lot of intense reactions. As you have one side of the Sixers fan base saying, Quentin Grimes, he surpassed a lot of the expectations we placed on him when we got him from the deadline. He was putting up great numbers, playing against some good teams like the Houston Rockets. He put up 40-plus points against the Rockets. They were the second seed in the Western Conference, one of the top defenses in the league. He almost beat them single-handedly and pretty much almost destroyed the Sixers' tank as they were trying to lose at that point in the season. But that's the critics, they spin that and say, because the Sixers, they are trying to lose games, he was putting up just, empty calories and chucking the ball a bunch. And from that sample size, can we really say that he is going to have as impressive as an impact next year when he is playing a reduced role? And essentially what this executive is saying is that, why are you continuing this headache with his contract dispute when he's demanding so much more money than what he's currently being valued at when you can just get a guy like Gary Trent Jr.? And this is not unique to the Sixers, as a lot of other restricted free agents like Kuminga and Josh Giddey, Cam Thomas, apparently they're all seeking $30 million per season. And it makes sense why they're trying to do this. However, no other team is biting. Now, in restricted free agency, other teams, they can still give them contracts. However, whether it's the Sixers or the Nets, the Warriors, the Bulls, they can bring back those players no matter what, because that's the fact that they're restricted free agents and that they can match their salaries and bring them back to the team, pretty much with no punishment either. And there's no leverage for any of these guys in restricted free agency. They are demanding too much money at this point, and no teams, they really value them at that level, $30 million per season. And Quentin Grimes, I think he's better than all of those players. And I think most Sixers fans definitely say that he is not worth $30 million. But is Quentin Grimes starting to be a little bit overrated by the Sixers fan base? As you have this executive saying, you can just get Gary Trent Jr. right off the rip on a minimum deal. And the Sixers, they are pretty cash strapped at the moment. And is Quentin Grimes, is he a lot better? Then, is he going to be a lot better next season if the Sixers bring him back? Or is he, just a average role player and last season was a little bit of a fluke because he got a bunch of shots and whatever? Welcome on into NZ for 3, where we talk Sixers nonstop. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new around here. But let's talk about it, man, because there's nothing to talk about this offseason or at this point in the offseason. Shams was saying that this was going to be the biggest offseason ever, but really nothing major happened. But the Sixers, they still have the Quentin Grimes issue that needs to be resolved. And is Quentin Grimes overrated? And my answer to that is no. In fact, I think a lot of Sixers fans are actually underscoring how good Quentin Grimes was last season. I think he's a lot better of a fit and just more talented than Gary Trent Jr. Now, you may think that is obvious, and I think it is a little bit obvious because I think most fans have forgot that Trent Jr. was even in the league in the first place. And Gary Trent Jr. was a player I was buying a lot of stock into when he was starting his career with the Raptors. I saw a lot of flashes of being an elite 3-and-D player, and that is what we are projecting Grimes to be given his production last season. But the difference between Quentin Grimes and Gary Trent has to do with their play styles. Now, they both sort of fit that mold as 3-and-D players. And the Sixers, they have always been looking for guys who can do more than one thing on the court. The Sixers, they have had so many specialists, guys who can do one thing well, but not do anything else well and got played off the floor in the playoffs because they just got exposed. Whether it was, George Niang, he was a great shooter, could not do anything else. Matisse Thybulle was a great defender, could not do anything else. He just had a broken jump shot. Shake Milton was kind of a flash in the pan. He was showing flashes of being an elite six-man who can, really distribute the ball well, but really cannot do anything else. You know what I mean? And of course, these are role players. You can't put really crazy expectations on them. If they had all of those skills, then they would be considered star players. However, so many of these teams that are winning NBA championships, they have guys who could do many things on the court, i.e., Cason Wallace, Derek White, Lou Dort, TJ McConnell, so many guys who can do more than one thing, more than just shooting, more than just passing, more than just defense. And Quentin Grimes, what he showed last season was really elite flashes of being a great three-level scorer. If you were watching the Sixers last season, you saw him really do more than just shoot threes. And I think that was what the expectation was for him when we got him from the deadline. He's just a gritty role player who can play some defense, but also, stand in the corner and hit a three from time to time. But Quentin Grimes was really balling out. I think he fits the mold of what the Sixers need a lot more than Gary Trent ever will, to be honest. I mean, let me just explain this through the some of their shot distribution. So we have Quentin Grimes and his entire career so far. When he was starting out with the Knicks, if you can see how many of his shots were coming from the three-point line, 80% of his shots, 67, 70, 73, 74. Most of his shots to start his career were coming from the three-point line, and that was fitting the expectation of him being, just someone who can play some good defense and also just hit a three but not really do anything else. However, as his career progressed, that three-point percentage, not when it came to three-point efficiency, but, the amount of shots it was taking in his diet, that was going down, and it went a lot more towards shots at the rim and close to the rim. And his two-point shot average, it was going up, and it went up especially with the 76ers. And Quentin Grimes, man, he was balling out on the team last year. You could call it shot chucking, you can call it whatever, but he was really playing a good, efficient basketball. I can't really say it was shot chucking since there was really no one else to pass the ball to, man. Let's be honest. So he was averaging 22 points, 4.5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. So he is showing not only, he could be a great three-level scorer, but also he can distribute the ball well, and he can try hard on the rebounds. And you compare that to someone like Gary Trent Jr., who, if you look at the amount of shots he was taking that were three-pointers, it really hasn't changed that much, man. In fact, it has gone up. It actually has changed dramatically now that I'm looking at it again. He started out only 42% of his shots in his rookie year, but then 60% went down a little bit as he started going to the rim more. But now at this point of his career, he is strictly a three-point shooter. And yes, shooting is important in the NBA, obviously, but all these other teams around the league, they have guys who can do more things on the ball. And Quentin Grimes, he has been doing that. When it comes to slashing, finishing at the rim, turnaround jump shots, dribble pull-ups at the elbow. He's been doing it all. And if you don't believe me, just check out this highlight reel that was posted by Aiden Doc. Shout out to him, because we all want to forget the last season because it was atrocious and made me want to pour bleach into my eyeballs and shove my head through a wall. The fact that I even watched most of the games last year really says a lot about how sick in the head I am about this basketball team. And I'm sure you're feeling the same exact way. And Quentin Grimes, he was one of the bright spots from last year. And look at him, man, just finishing at the rim, doing so much more with the ball than we ever anticipated him doing. Even with the Mavericks, dude, posterizing that dude. That 2K generated player. I had no idea who that was. And Quentin Grimes, man, he was hooping. He is a player that is similar, I think, to Derek White, the true best player on the Boston Celtics. He can shoot threes. Yes, and it is important to shoot threes. But he can also go to the rack. He can create off the dribble and take control of the offense, whether it's his shot making, his distributing, and his grit, his rebounding. And, I kind of see some flashes with Quentin Grimes fitting that Derek White type of archetype, man, that really smart combo guard who has a high motor. And of course, I don't know if Quentin Grimes he's ever going to be as good as Derek White, but still, when have the Sixers ever had a Derek White type of player where, yeah, he's going to put up nice box score stats, but you really need to watch the game to truly understand his impact on the basketball court. And, Grimes, he has no leverage whatsoever. These restricted free agents, as we said before, they are not getting any offers from other teams. They don't want to pay them that much money, and they know that the other team, whether it's the Sixers, they're going to take him back no matter what. And Daryl Morey and the front office, they have made it clear at this point that they want to retain Quentin Grimes. And when it comes to Quentin Grimes' situation, Quentin Grimes, if you're watching this video, let me just bring this up. Paul George and Joel Embiid don't play a lot of basketball. And both of those players, they are on, the top of the food chain when it comes to the pecking order and the shot distribution. A lot of those shots are going to be going for Embiid and for Paul George. They're going to be getting a lot of time on the ball. But if they're not playing and you accept that qualifying offer, you can ball out a lot more and contribute to a winning team. Granted, none of this really matters if Joel Embiid is not healthy, but we'll get into that another day. If Quentin Grimes, I think the Sixers are actually a great situation for him no matter what. If he can sign let's just say he signs like a 3-year deal, man. I think he's still 25, 24 years old. I mean, he's going to be hitting the prime of his career by the time he's at, his next contract. And, look at, players like OG Anunoby who are getting bags. Quentin Grimes, he can get that same type of deal. But I don't know shit about being an NBA agent. I just am a dude in his basement recording YouTube videos. And yeah, Gary Trent, he does average 11 points per game and shoots 40% from the three-point line. But Quentin Grimes, he is a much better player, and his impact on the Sixers, his potential impact on the team next year is being underscored. He is not overrated, and I'm excited for what he brings next season. I'd say there's a 90% chance that he comes back to the Sixers, and it's most likely going to be on that qualifying offer. I mean, you gotta think about it from his perspective. He's young, and he wants to get as much value in his contract as possible. And if it makes sense that he takes that 1 year, contributes to a winning team, if healthy, of course, and he will see what other, deals he might get in the future. But that's just my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. The offseason is going to be, a really dead period coming up, and I'm going to continue to try and find things to talk about. So hit that like and subscribe button. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.